Alright, the moment that we have all been waiting for, the long coveted, heavily anticipated release of the OnePlus 9 Pro.
10 toes down, I'll be free until the end. Crib outside the city, I don't feel safe in my hands. Took so many years, I'm just waiting for the wins. I'm in debt to no one but the one who took my sins. I do it for real, there's no reason to pretend. If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what? Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up.
This is very strange, no one is talking about this, but OnePlus outdid themselves this year with this pine green color, because quite honestly, it smells like real pine. I don't think Apple or any other OEM can compete with that, so definitely brownie points for OnePlus. All jokes aside, let's take a closer look at the OnePlus 9 Pro and see what it's all about this year. If you guys are an avid viewer of the channel, you know my daily driver Android of choice is the OnePlus 8 Pro. So I'm really excited to push the 9 Pro to its limits and see if the cameras, the display, and even the performance has improved. Throughout this first impressions video, I will be referencing the OnePlus 8 Pro and we'll find out what's different this year on the OnePlus 9 Pro. Of course, I just wanted to let you guys know that this month will be dedicated towards covering the 9 Pro in depth. I'm currently working on a ton of videos for the 9 Pro, including a comparison video alongside the S21 Ultra. So if you are into that, consider leaving a like on this video and subscribing to the channel for a lot of upcoming OnePlus content. We gotta talk about the price of this device. The price of the 9 Pro varies significantly based on region. In Canada, this is a very expensive flagship. We are limited to the 12GB variant with 128 gigs of storage, and the price tallies up to, are you ready for this? I hope you guys are sitting down. $1,693.87. That is a lot of money for a flagship. In fact, it's more expensive than the iPhone 12 Pro, but still less expensive than the S21 Ultra and the iPhone 12 Pro Max. On the other hand, if you are based in India, the 9 Pro goes for half the price of the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So it is a very region-specific phone, and based on where you live plays a huge factor into the overall value of this device. So naturally, I'm expecting a lot from this device. I need the cameras to compete with other flagships, or else I'm going to have a hard time justifying the price of the OnePlus 9 Pro. Let's take a look at the design. One design change immediately jumps out to you from its predecessor, and that is of course the cameras. Let's not sugarcoat things here. This camera design and layout heavily resembles the S21. Sure, the signature camera layout down the center of the 8 Pro is no longer, but I'm okay with this design change. Everyone is complaining about the Hasselblad logo etched into the camera layout. Personally, I think it looks kind of cool, and it is a subtle flex when you carry this phone around. It sort of reminds me of VTEC on Honda Civics, which I think is pretty cool. This phone is a tad bit narrower than the 8 Pro, making it overall easier to handle the phone one-handed. It sits a bit better in my hands, and ergonomically speaking, it is a welcome design change. The display this year has less of a curvature to it, which I do dig. I'm not a fan of curved displays at all. I find myself to experience way too many accidental touches on them, but I'm completely okay with this kind of curved display. I haven't experienced any accidental touches, the display looks good, and it is practical for everyday usage. I'll expand a bit more on the display in a little bit. What's exciting this year is that OnePlus decided to partner up with Hasselblad to improve upon the color science of their stills. This is a 3-year partnership valued at $150 million. This tells me that OnePlus is very serious about improving their cameras, and they will not settle for mediocrity. But the question is, did the partnership deliver in their first year? I'll talk about that and the cameras a little bit later in the video. I personally love this green color. It's a matte finish that looks way better than morning mist in my opinion. The back of the phone won't collect fingerprints, but it is still quite slippery. I do heavily recommend a case, and I will link some cases that I recommend in the description below. If you look closer towards the bottom of the device, you'll notice that the OnePlus imprint is no longer on the 9 Pro. The back of the device is a lot cleaner now in comparison to the 8 Pro, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. We still have these signature OnePlus alert sliders along with the power button underneath, and over on the left side we have the typical up and down volume rockers. I haven't noticed anything different with the physical buttons. The feedback and the feeling is still the same as on the OnePlus 8 Pro. Okay, so let's talk about the display. We all know that the OnePlus 8 Pro was bombarded with display issues. There were green tint issues, black bar issues, and even black crush issues. Even though I personally didn't have any of these issues, I know a lot of you out there did. The good news is is, the display on the 9 Pro is absolutely fantastic, and so far I haven't noticed any display issues even at low levels of brightness. Even if you start at 0%, I haven't noticed any green tint or black bar issues. I'll even go as far as saying the greatest improvement from the OnePlus 8 Pro to the OnePlus 9 Pro isn't the cameras, it's in fact the display. The 9 Pro features a 6.7-inch edge-to-edge LTPO OLED display. An OLED display enables this device to be power efficient. OnePlus has now more control over the refresh rate. This enables the refresh rate to be adaptive, so it can go all the way from 120Hz to 1Hz depending on what you're doing on the display. The screen has a resolution of 1440 by 3216 and a PPI of 526. I think this display is terrific. It's a bright, vivid display with natural looking tones and great color accuracy. I've been gaming a lot on this phone, playing a lot of League of Legends Wild Rift, and the visual experience is just flawless. Naturally, OnePlus devices are absolute animals when it comes to performance, and the OnePlus 9 Pro is no different. The 9 Pro is equipped with the latest Snapdragon, the Snapdragon 888, 12GB of RAM, and the utter smoothness of Oxygen OS. The 9 Pro is not to be messed with. I can't think of too many Android devices as smooth as the 9 Pro. The Pixel 5 comes close with stock Android, but its performance is limited with an inferior chipset. Casual everyday usage has been great. The haptics are a little bit more refined. They feel a tad bit better than what I experienced on the 8 Pro. I've been gaming a ton on this phone, playing a lot of League of Legends Wild Rift, and the graphics are awesome. I've been playing in the highest of settings, and surprisingly, even after 2 hours of non-stop gaming, the back of the phone is able to stay cool. This is not an easy game to run. It's a very demanding mobile game where skill shots are very important. The responsiveness of this phone is awesome. I haven't noticed any touch latency issues, hence why I am carrying all of my Wild Rift games by myself. Surprisingly, included in the box in 2021 is a 65-watt fast charging brick. This phone charges at a speed of 25 watts, but since the battery cells are split within the phone, it's the same as 50-watt charging. You can charge the 9 Pro's 4500 mAh battery from 0 to 100% in just 45 minutes. That is some insane fast charging speeds. Now, it's too early for me to determine an average screen on time, but so far I've been getting around 6.5 hours of screen on time, and that is with 2 hours of playing games on my phone per day. I consider this to be decent screen on time, all things considering. Finally, we make our way over to the cameras. Cameras have always been a major weakness in OnePlus devices, but consumers and tech enthusiasts alike didn't mind, mainly because the price of OnePlus devices historically undercuts flagships while offering exceptional performance. Those days are now long gone, and OnePlus has no more excuses when it comes to the camera, especially at this price point. The primary sensor is a 48-megapixel Sony sensor with optical image stabilization. The other camera is a massive 50-megapixel ultra-wide with a custom lens installed to help distortion at the edges. There is also a 3.3x telephoto, and finally a monochrome lens that aids with the rest of the camera system. I haven't had enough time with this device to label the cameras as good or bad, but even after the latest firmware update, the cameras are still what I consider to be mediocre. Now, I want you guys to hear me out. OnePlus seems to be in a transition phase when it comes to their cameras. I believe they are still trying to figure out their identity along with a signature color profile. The good news is this is year 1 in a 3-year partnership with Hasselblad, and I'm confident we will be seeing major camera improvements throughout the years. I will cover the cameras a lot more in depth in my full review, but for now, these are my initial impressions. I found the primary camera to struggle in bright outdoor conditions, oftentimes overexposing the shot in processing. For now, software seems to be the major issue. Oftentimes the pictures are over-sharpened and the blacks are crushed. I did do an interesting blind camera test over on my Twitter. The comparison was between the 8 Pro and the 9 Pro. What's interesting is a lot of people seem to prefer the images coming out of the 8 Pro. Make sure you guys follow me over on Twitter if you aren't already doing so. I will keep you guys updated on the OnePlus 9 Pro's camera over there. There is a ton of OnePlus 9 Pro coverage coming up on the channel. If you made it till the end of this video and you liked what you saw, then why not subscribe to the channel? If you guys are undecided between the OnePlus 8 Pro and the OnePlus 9 Pro, I will leave you guys with this video right here. It is my OnePlus 8 Pro review in 2021. As always, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to flex with your tech.